Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Something Something podcast. My name is Eric Kasloff, and of course, I am your favorite podcaster's favorite podcaster. And with me, as always, is Larry Sands. How's it going, Larry?
Oh, actually, after that introduction, I'm feeling a lot better, Eric, because you are my favorite podcaster I've ever met or worked with. So, and it's really
Thank
just
you,
been you.
Larry.
So
So,
that's good.
Larry,
Yeah.
before we get into our guests and what we gotta have going on in our lives, I gotta let you know a personal thing that's going on with me.
Okay.
So, as we know, this year, health-wise, has not been good for me,
Right.
but I did finally manage to get my dentures back.
Yes.
But here's
Yes.
the problem. My mouth is so swollen because of them, they won't fit right now. And I've got to use a special mouthwash to bring down the swelling.
Oh.
And man, has it been depressing.
That sounds like a fucking bummer.
Oh yeah. You know what? Let's get right. We don't need to it. We don't need to it to, announce the Adams family. They're our friends. So
That,
guys, the start of this year, I spent almost 2 months at NYU.
yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
my
Nice.
dream was to go to NYU, but not that way.
Right.
Oh no.
Right.
And while I was in the hospital, almost dying, I lost my dentures there, and my insurance wouldn't pay for replacements. So this whole year has been held bad. But film-wise, I have finished a script, working on actually a family sitcom that I'm really excited about. But Larry, let's talk about the Addams family. We got them back on, man.
I can't thank you, John and Toby enough for letting us be a part of your world. I
Oh,
mean, you have your new movie, which we're going to be talking about, Hellhole, which is it safe to say it's a Shudder original?
Sure.
yeah, they put it
Sweet.
up. They made it happen.
Awesome. So
Unbelievable,
cool, man.
unbelievable. So obviously, to give a little bit of backstory for people listening and watching this, we met you through The Deeper You Dig, right? And
Right.
me and my wife had just watched it one night, and we were like, and obviously as a filmmaker, you watch the credits, right? To see who was in it, obviously you guys, but who was behind the camera. And I was literally blown away that there were three or maybe four of you in front of the camera, and there were five people behind the camera, and three of those people,
Was
everybody,
you?
it was you guys. It was you guys. And I literally, like, as soon as we watched it, it was probably like 1 in the morning. Oh, yeah, and we were like, I was like, oh man, I really watched the, Deeper You Dig, and really love it, and would love to come on the podcast if you'd just come on, and that'd be great. And then you guys responded, and that's like the coolest thing ever.
Of
That
Now you're
was
just making us feel good. Are you kidding? When we got an email from you, we were like, hell yeah. And that's the whole thing about this, people like you. And what we love about this sounds a little cheesy, but I don't think it is at all. This is a great family of open-minded and inviting people. And, you know, it's just great to be a part of the family. And days like this are what we live for.
yeah,
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 like I always say, it's important to find your film family. And you
yeah.
guys, literally being a filmmaking family, it's just so cool. And being able to watch you guys grow from The Deeper You Dig to Hellhole, which would you say is your most ambitious project? Because I mean, you were out of the country when you made this one.
Eric, it certainly was a different beast, pun intended, because we were working with a crew that wasn't just the fam, and yeah, we were working out of the country. So it was a really different endeavor, but it was incredibly educational. It was really cool and really fun. I mean, and let me tell you, where we were shooting in Serbia
Yeah.
is known for like its vampire lore And it's known for all, it's
Oh.
kind of like their Roswell, because there are these sort of pyramid-shaped mountains, and then nearby are these villages where you can literally see garlic hanging from the door
That's
frames.
so cool.
So they predate like Dracula. And so
Wow.
it's like you're in this place shooting in this incredible Soviet era mine. And it's like, wow, this is pretty wonderful. And it's fun that we have room to do something like this.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And I might add, obviously as filmmakers and knowing you guys where you guys came from, seeing the end credits where it was like this whole crew, it's just like what you said, Toby. What was that like for you guys? And was it a learning curve? And this is weird. This all sounds weird because you made the transition from like independent filmmaking family to independent filmmaking family with a bigger family, right, of filmmakers. What was that like for you guys in that process?
Yeah, great question. It was wonderful. I think we learned so much. Like when we're used to doing everything, we're used to editing, we're used to holding the camera, we're used to writing the scripts, we're used to making the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Right.
So first thing that became apparent super fast was there's a lot of rules when you're working with a lot of people. The only way that the ferry boat moves forward in the direction that everybody wants is if everybody kind of follows the rules. So, and that also means that you have a certain set of tools that are yours that you can use. And if you reach into somebody else's toolbox, the ferry boat fucking starts turning the wrong direction because it's not a good idea.
Right.
Do you know? And
Yeah.
so that's, I think that is what we learned really quick was like, okay, never reach into anybody's toolbox. Like tell everybody what you want and then believe in them.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
So that was
Yeah.
really interesting to us. And it also showed us that kind of whole process of filmmaking, because after Hellbender, we had been approached a lot by production companies saying, hey, why don't we make a bigger industry movie, a Hollywood movie? And none of them sounded that fun. A lot of those offers sounded like not fun. And this one sounded more fun, so we did it. And I think it taught us a lot about our advantages as just a tiny little Adams family that makes movies.
Yeah.
Because we realized, oh, we can actually do a lot of things that a big production can't do.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so let's talk. So actually, Eric and I were talking a little bit this morning, and Eric brought up a super great fact that when we watched the movie, we didn't see Zelda or Lulu in it. What
I
was that
felt
like?
weird. I was like, did I miss them? Are they playing one of the characters, but they're in heavy makeup? Is she the monster? Is this like
Yeah, that's
CGI
what
stuff?
she should have been the monster. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's pretty wild when we don't make something with them. I mean, Lulu was a co-writer on this. She knocked out the first draft, which was really cool. And a lot of her DNA is still in the movie in that way. But it is strange. Sometimes John and I talk about how when we make something without the kids, it almost feels like, did we jinx ourselves? Are they like our lucky totems, you know? But Zelda had just started college. Lulu was living in South Korea, I think, at the time.
Wow.
So it was kind of also positive for John and me too, to just kind of step out and be like, we're gonna try this, and with their blessings and their energy, injected it with us always.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
That's
we've
absolutely
talked
amazing.
about what brought you here. We've talked about the making of the movie, but let's actually talk about the story of the movie because we're recording this early, but it's coming out on the 23rd. This will be up a few days before that. So give the audience the little sample size bite of it to make them want the whole thing. What's the story?
Well, it's a punk rock creature feature. That's
Yeah.
that's really what it is, with a heavy dose of humor. And that's what we wanted to do. But it's a story. I mean, Toby speaks better on like these kinds of things. She's
Well,
better at the quick, good elevator pitch.
oh, pressure. It's about an American fracking company goes to Serbia to set up the apparatus for fracking, and they tap into something very ancient in the soil.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
yeah.
what happens is this creature is unleashed, and it's interested in one sex far more than the other.
Right.
You know what's
right.
funny is okay, now listening to her because she's smart. Here's my like version.
Go for it.
American fracking crew goes to Serbia to frack. They poke a monster. The monster pokes them.
Oh,
I love that. I love that.
How about
love
that?
That's awesome. That
And I gotta
actually that
tell
should
you-
be on the poster.
I
Absolutely.
like that.
Two things. One, as a Battlestar Galactica fan, I know that, they couldn't use the F word, so they kept saying fracking. So I have to remember that's not what they mean. When I watched the movie, the two films that remind me of most was William Castle's The Tingler and
Ooh.
Return of the Living Dead 2. Well, I personally like Return of the Living Dead 2 more, but Return of the Living Dead in general, these people in a closed off area and there's this threat. I also, man, honestly, the thing kept
Oh,
popping in
yeah.
my head also while I watched it. So
Man.
three pretty, good movies to think about while you're watching something.
Man,
That's a great
Right
mix.
on.
That's a perfect mix right there because it's kind of like high value, medium value, like, and I don't mean value like the way, I mean, you know what I'm going.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
totally.
a
yeah.
great
totally.
mix of, that's great calls out there.
Yeah. It's almost, and reading some of the press that was sent to us, it's got that sci-fi feel, right? Almost alien-esque, in a far more creepy, scary, and rock and roll way. Because so me and my wife, we started watching it, and she was like, "Oh my God, what is this gonna be about?" And then there was drilling, and we were like, "Oh my God, they're gonna drill straight to hell, and it's gonna come up and attack everybody."
Oh
And
yeah.
then all of a sudden, it was like I can almost imagine that John and Toby, you guys and Lulu, and I envision in my head, you guys were driving down the road. You go, "Hey, I've got an idea about this alien-esque thing that just appears out of an orifice." And then it just falls together, right?
Well,
So,
that's exactly what happened. We were
Yeah.
driving through the fracking fields of Canada, and we kept passing basic man camps, just men, tons of pickup trucks. But in the middle of nowhere, like if anybody needed to go get toothpaste, they would have to literally drive like 500 miles to go get a thing of toothpaste. That's how far out they were,
wow.
And so we just started banging around ideas, and we came up with this idea real early back then. It would be great for a fracking crew to hit a monster and wake it up. And so
Yeah.
it started there, and it eventually ended in Serbia, and it was really fun. I think you mentioned like Aliens, or no, you mentioned The Thing. Those
Yeah.
were all movies that are definitely on our mind because we love them. But one of the things that, like, when you don't have a big budget, you have to figure out ways to make films entertaining. Like, how can you? And one of the things that doesn't cost money is humor. And so it was really fun for us, Toby and I, and Lulu, to stretch our like comedic legs, like to actually be like, let's make this horrible, but also funny.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
right. And one of the things watching it, and I know we've talked about this before, and like the music to this and the way it's creatively cut
Yeah.
to the music, with like the punch-ins and the beats and stuff. I, you know, Going into and knowing as a filmmaker, going into something and you shoot it, you don't really know how you're going to edit it together, unless obviously you're going through it and you're like, okay, this goes here, this goes here. But then you get in and then you add in the music, and I think that is along with the landscape
Mm.
artistry, that you guys you know, absolutely did with all your movies previous, especially with the hatred, right? The
Mm.
hate, it was beautiful
Yeah,
scenery,
yeah.
and it was wide shots, and it was just beautiful.
And again,
Uh,
whenever we talk about the hatred, I have to mention when we played it at our film
yeah,
festival, you know, that we were about to have a short showcase, but none of the filmmakers wanted to stop watching the
right,
hatred. So
right,
we're like, yeah, you
right.
know what? We'll
Yeah,
play them later. We gotta
yeah.
finish this.
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
that's so
yes.
cool that you guys are mentioning the hatred, because that's our door that we walked through into the horror community.
I love
Was
it.
That was our very first real horror movie. It was Zelda's idea. Zelda wanted to kill a bunch of men. She was like, I want to kill some men on film. And I was like, great. I have a lot of friends that we should kill. And
But
so
even then, you guys were going big. I mean, it's
Yeah,
like a Civil War movie or an
that,
Old
yeah,
West movie. You
yeah,
weren't just thinking, you know, we'll set it modern day, it'll be easy to do. Like, no,
yeah.
no, let's be ambitious with our first horror movie.
Right,
Then
right.
with, you know, the deeper you dig, you went modern day. And
Yeah,
then it's just you guys have never let budget scare you.
yeah.
You've
oh,
always
great.
just gone for it and figured out a way to make it work. And I know that has to do with your DIY punk rock roots. Like I remember the last time we interviewed you, the second you popped on, John, I was like, yeah, man, this guy loved Minor Threat when he was younger. And the
And the
cramp.
cramps, there you
And
go.
I
Yeah.
gotta point out, it's bothering me that for Wednesday, they took out the Cramp song on YouTube on TikTok and are using the Lady Gaga song. It's like the Cramps are so much better than Lady Gaga.
Love the Cramps. I mean, come
Yeah.
on. Poison Ivy. Hello,
Yes.
Lux Interior.
See, that's the whole attitude that you bring to everything that you do. And obviously you have signatures. How much, okay, here's a question, because at what point did Shudder become the 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 distributor or the platform that you guys took it to?
Really early on, Larry, because we had done the last drive-in, Joe Bob Briggs. And
Mhm.
so the producers on that are called Not the Funeral Home. They were like, hey, what do you guys got cooking?
Wow.
And so this idea, this man camp idea came up, and they were like, let's do it. And then,
Wow.
so before you know it, Shudder was on board to finance the film.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the next thing you know, we were going to shoot it in Serbia, where the producers had a lot of connections. And we
Mm.
were rewriting the script for Serbia. So it just happened very fast, and Shudder has been beautiful.
Wow.
And
Shudder, and then they're bringing on the IFC team in tandem with it.
Yeah.
Well has been great, and the showcases they've been putting together. So they never got in our way. They only were like, here, let us give you a little nudge, you know? So it's been beautiful.
Wow.
you know, we
Wow.
both absolutely love Shudder. They're so on the cutting edge of horror right now. We've had people from the network on before, and man, seeing you guys on Joe Bob got me so jealous because they filmed it like in Newark or Jersey City, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
You know what's
Wow.
great about Shudder is we're Toby, John, Lulu, and Zelda. That's who we are. And Shudder's always treated us as Toby, John, Lulu, and Zelda. And a lot of the time we'll hear, if we get approached by people in the industry or something like this, we hear a lot. This is what we hear. Well, we like what you guys do with your little micro budget things, but we think that, you should work, like we want to get a $10 million movie, and then you can move up to a $50 million movie, because that's how it's done. And it's kind of like, what we actually really like about Shudder is that they say, we like what you do. And so when you have something, let's talk, because we like what you do. And
Wow.
we love the fun of filmmaking more than the business of filmmaking. And so Shudder is perfect for us because I think they recognize that.
Wow. Wow, that is such a filmmaking thing to do. Obviously, our podcast, we focus on creatives, right? And people that want to learn about the creative process and what they go through. But as a filmmaker, and this is what I love totally about you guys, is you guys, and you just said it, and people don't realize it. Obviously, the normies, the non-entertainment folks, they just, watch and go, oh man, this is great. They're putting out, $10 million movies, blah, blah, blah. But to hear it from a filmmaking family, true, spoken like a true filmmaker, because when you look at places like Shudder, which, by the way, I want to ask you about Samuel Zimmerman. We've had him on
Oh
numerous
yeah.
times.
Yeah.
But
Great guy.
oh yeah, but to hear you say that, that is like a whole education unto itself, what you just said.
Huh.
Because most people when you get to a platform, then they kind of own you, and that's what they want to do. And they want to, and much like acting and anything creative, especially with music, you get picked up for who you are and what you do, and then they want to mold you into somebody else that they can then package and go, hey, look, this is shiny and all that. And this is why I'm in love with you guys, because you guys look at it and you go, no, that's not for us, it's all good. And I really truly appreciate that you just said that, because a
Oh,
lot
thanks.
of, a lot of people would be like, no man, when I get to a certain point, I'll do it. And then you get there and you're like, why am I doing this? This is horrible.
Yeah, and that's great. We love big productions. Like last night, we watched a big production before we went to bed, and it was fun.
Yeah.
But that's just not what we really want to do. And
Yeah.
what's really nice for all the filmmakers out there listening, or producers, or musicians, or lighting people, there's a wonderful, especially, well, there's a horror community out there that doesn't need a slick and shiny piece.
Mm.
They just want to see genuinity. And
Oh,
that's the best. That's what we love about this horror community,
wow.
is they're looking for genuinity, and they're kind of like artistically educated and self-educated.
Yeah.
And so it's
Yep.
so people like us don't have to work within the industry ladder. We can work within this community's ladder that
Yeah.
basically lies flat on the ground.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what was it like? Because Samuel, he is absolutely, other than Eric Kasloff, he is like a giant encyclopedia of
Yeah.
horror.
I just have my encyclopedia like knowledge goes from 1996 to about 2015. I pretty much seen every, teen horror movie that came out from those years. Other than that, I'm a little rusty.
I'd
That's
say
pretty
you're doing pretty
impressive.
great. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he is. He
Well,
is.
Sam,
Yes,
again,
absolutely.
beautiful human being, and you want to stand around beautiful human beings. He's a
Yeah.
great guy. He's a great conversationalist. He's not just film educated. He's also punk rock educated.
He is.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So we were just hanging out with Sam, and you kind of I just want to talk too much because there's too many things to talk about.
I know, right?
This
this
is this tells you a lot about Sam. I was just in Fantasia for a week, and every time I would walk by this one cafe, Sam would always be sitting there, and we would say hi, and he'd hug me, and he'd introduce in the nicest way to whomever he was with. And then maybe 15 minutes later, I'd be walking by that same cafe because everything's in the same area, and you'd see Sam again. He'd be with someone different. He'd hug you, say hello, let me introduce you in the most beautiful way. It was just every 15 minutes, I felt like I was walking by Sam, and it was as if it was a new opportunity for him to just be the most loving, supportive, generous, kind guy.
Wow. That's that coming from filmmakers in, I mean, let's face it, filmmaking in general is kind of brutal, right? Because there's
Yeah.
different kinds of strokes for different folks, but it's like what you said, John. It's the community that really matters. And I think Sam really hones into that, and he knows the lane. He knows the lane. What was it like for you guys? Because I know, we're coming up on time, and obviously we could sit here and talk freaking all day about all this stuff, but
Yeah, it always makes me laugh when you have your people setting up interviews with
I
us. It's
love
like,
it.
no, we know them. We know
Yeah,
them. Like
yeah.
when Hellbender came out, we had people emailing, would you consider having the Adams? I was like, yeah, I know them. They're my,
Hell yeah.
I wish so much that one day we'll be hanging out in the city and people like, would you like to have the Adams family? I'm literally eating pizza with them right now at Joe's.
100%. That's what I'm talking about this community. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. What was it like for you guys? Was Sam on set, or is he pretty much hands off?
Oh yeah, they're beautifully hands off.
I love that.
You know, like you talked about the staccato, some of the staccato edits or the punk rock music,
Yeah.
Sometimes I was a little worried because when we make our movies, I did have to hand it to people for them to give it a pass. Like there was a staging process where it was like, you got to hand them this then, and they got to give you a pass, and then you keep going.
Right.
So I was like, oh my God, Toby knew I was a little stressed because number one, I'm not really good with authority, but
No.
thank God it was Sam. And so like a great example is the music and some of those weird cuts that I had a lot of fun doing. Like I wanted the movie to be fun and have an original look. And I hope it is for people because
Yes, it is.
that's the goal.
Yes.
And that's why the music and the cuts are like that.
Yes.
And they were like, wow, that's weird and great. Keep going. And I was like, oh my God, holy shit. Great. Fantastic. They never ever shot me a note.
I love it. That's so encouraging to know.
Yeah.
Man, and it's like I think you said in like the little press bio that they sent out, you wanted to make a horror, comedy, rock and roll, sci-fi movie that you can have fun watching.
Right.
And I read that, I was like, oh, yeah.
And
They
you
pretty
really
much
knocked
nailed
it
it.
out of the park with that.
Okay.
You hit all of those marks in it.
Yeah. And I must say, John, and I stick to my because I know early on, you are a hair actor for sure. Yeah, I put you up there with Johnny Depp and Brad Pitt. I'm telling you, you had your buzz cut, you had this, and you are a very handsome man either way. I tell you.
And like Eric. So yeah, so we should just go around together to clubs, right? We should go clubs.
Exactly. Call each other the handsomes.
Yes. Yo, handsome.
Hey, they had Hanson. We could be the handsomes.
Hey, there you go.
Handsomes.
Right. We've got to write a song.
That'd be awesome.
That's awesome. That's so cool. I tell you, Toby and John, for everything that you've done, I know as a filmmaker and as a person, I was really excited to talk to you guys, and I still am. And I still, and right when the credits started rolling again, it's like to see all these people that you guys were able to work with and to have them be a part of your world, because like, okay, this is not a dig on anything, but it's like you invited them into your world, and obviously you learned to work in their world. And I think, as filmmakers, we have to learn how to do that in every situation. But I was tickled that you guys had this list, a big long list of people that you could call your crew. And I just, as a filmmaker, it means a lot. It means a lot.
It was such a cool thing. It's like I said, watching your progression, it's felt like watching your favorite college quarterback, make it go pro and get to the Super Bowl. It's like, man, watching you, I didn't see the non-horror stuff, though it is available on Amazon last time I checked, some of it, I think. But, this seeing the progression of your career has been amazing. And we know we're going to be pressed for time soon, but the movie comes out on Shudder Friday, August 23rd. This is going to be up Friday, August 21st. So we have time to hype you guys up on our social medias and everything. John and Toby, it is always amazing to have you on, and we got to try to get you on an Instagram live a day before or a day after the movie premieres, just
that'd be super.
Talk to everybody about it.
And then hang on, Eric, and then John and Toby, I want you guys to come on and talk about music.
Oh, we'd love
And-
it.
and-
You guys got
and-
our number and let's
Yeah.
rock.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, for sure.
Oh, don't
We'll
tell me
set
that.
something up
Hang
over
on, everybody.
Facebook. Yeah.
Are you getting my texts? Are you getting my emails? Are you getting my Instagrams? Are you getting my TikToks?
Got it.
Yeah.
Again,
You guys are great. Thank you so much.
guys so much for being on. And hey, everybody, again, the movie is out 2 days from now if you're listening in on the podcast. And if you want Shudder, you can get a week trial, or it's only $6 a month, guys. And it is the best six. That and Spotify are the only bills that I get hit by that don't upset me every month. So, everyone, guys, thank you so much for coming on. And like we say each and every week here, remember, support our troops.